Wow, what do you think? Are they all reptilians in disguise? It's interesting. There's been going around for a while. There was a mini series in the 80s called V about just that, right? Reptilians who come from outer space and are dressed as humans, right? But they're actually reptiles. So what do you think? Like, what's going on? There's definitely something weird going on. Now, I haven't seen any of it personally. It's all been through a screen, right? The 2D world. So how real it is, I can't really say, but there's enough weirdness out there, right? The whole reptilian thing, the mask thing, the changing eyes, the Hollywood stars that are aging backwards or changing their whole look, right? The hand thing, like lots of weirdness. What do you think is going on out there?
Yo, everything is fake, man. The media's fake, the jobs are fake, the money's fake, politics fake, religion's fake, people are fake, friends are fake, everything is fake. Nothing is real anymore. We have traded authenticity for convenience. We have traded truth for comfort. And we're surrounded by the illusions that we helped build. The media is feeding you fear. The job is draining your soul. The money's being printed from nothing but controlling everything. The politics is dividing you into teams that both work for the same system. Religion is telling you to find God outside yourself. Your friends are following trends more than they follow truth. And the family stopped talking once technology gave them better distractions. You scroll more than you feel. You post more than you speak. You know more about strangers online than your own blood. The science lies when there's money involved. Pharma profits when you're sick. And NASA is selling you dreams while the whole world is burning. Everything that's supposed to help you hurts you. Everything that's supposed to unite you divides you. And everything that's supposed to make you smarter is making you dependent. And we've forgotten how to be human. We've lost touch with nature, with silence, with each other. We're seeking truth in systems designed to hide it. And the only way to get out, man, is to going back in. Back to presence, back to truth, back to real connection. And it starts with awareness. You got to question it all. You got to unplug from the things that drain you and reconnect with the things that ground you. You got to talk to your people. You got to touch the earth, hug a tree, listen more than you scroll. Because the system is going to continuously win when you forget who you are. But the moment you remember it, you're going to break it. So remember, tribe, it's always about leaving people better than we found them. So we got to help the people unplug from this. Open their eyes and seek truth over comfort always. Until tomorrow, tribe, namaste.
He's not wrong, right? It's all fake. But that is because it's all an illusion that is fed to us. It's all in the external world. It's like I've been talking about the 2D realm, right? And again, the internet is useful. It's connected lots of us. It's got lots of information out there. But when you start looking at it, or anything for that matter, that's in the outside world, when you start looking at that as truth, that's a problem. The truth is inside you because my opinion is the truth is subjective. It's different for all of us. And we know this. We can talk to people about things that we believe are true, and they'll say, I don't think that's true. Right? The truth is in, and that's why it's inside us, and that's why you have to look inside, right? All this information that we take in, it has to be put through our filters and thought about for it to be of any use at all. And obviously, the wisest thing is to put that into action and become wise with it, right? Just having information from constant scrolling and other things on the screen doesn't make you wise, right? Because you never put it into practice, you never think about it. So, yes, it's all fake on the outside, I would say. It's all an illusion. How you going, guys? Thanks for joining me. Campbell here from Autodidactic. Hope you're having a fantastic day. And it's time to go through some more videos of the Strange Realm. And yes, I understand after what I just said that you may think I'm contradicting myself. But, I see a lot of channels putting out these types of videos, and it's really just, it's just help. It's just so people don't have to scroll for themselves, right? Instead of going to TikTok and scrolling, they watch someone else scroll, which is a bit crazy. So I do this because I'm trying to put a different perspective on it, put out a different point of view, and really ultimately just to get people to ask different questions, right? Because when we ask different questions, we get different answers.
I'm really at a point now where I cannot even have a conversation with anyone who is not awake to the lies, the corruption, and the manipulation. I can't talk to anyone at work, my family. The only one who's awake is my girl. And no one really enjoys having a conversation with me because we're not going to agree on anything. If you're awake, you know what I'm talking about. You know how frustrating it is. Because all day, people at work are talking about sports and what was on the news and elections. Like, oh, did you see the game last night? That was crazy. And I'm just like, no, that shit's rigged. And they're like, oh, well, did you see what was on the news last night? That shit was crazy, right? And I'm like, no, that's all lies and manipulation. And they're like, oh, well, did you see who they voted in New York? They're fucked now. And I'm like, no, voting means nothing and it's illusion of choice. Are you stupid? The amount of corruption in the blatantly obvious lies is out of control. And everyone's out here just eating it up. They're just eating it all up. Like the narrative on the streets is like, oh, did you see what the left did to CK for speaking his mind? And I'm like, what the fuck are you even talking about? Do you know anything besides what the media tells you? And they're like, oh, well, you watch these podcasts, right? And I'm like, no, they're all controlled opposition. So lately, I don't even talk much at work, and anybody says anything to me, I just go, yeah, that's crazy. And all these people out here, they're just not even aware of the fact that 80% of the videos they watch every day are not even real.
I agree with that. A lot of the information we get from videos online is not real, especially now, that people get paid, right? And doom scrolling, the majority will click on things that are novel, that are new, that are exciting, and most of that is to do with bad things, right? What's going wrong in the world. So there's money involved. So this type of information is out there, whether it be true or not. Um, but I must say, I feel a bit sorry for that guy. He doesn't seem to be in a happy place. Everything he's seeing in the world is doom and gloom, and that's not good. But, if we're all energy and our thoughts create reality, then that's bad, right? And people, when I say things like this, people say, "Oh, but this." It's either everything is frequency, energy, and we're creators, or not. Okay, and if we're not, if it's the outside world that's just been thrown to us and we have no control, then we're in a bad place. So I would say on that, focusing on the bad in life is not a good way to go. We should be creating our future. Now, I watch this stuff and I see it as a show. I don't get emotionally attached or involved in any of it, and I don't judge any of it as right or wrong. It's just interesting, right? Until I have enough information and enough different perspectives, I can't make a decision on it, right? So, and I know a lot of people are in this position. And another thing I want to say is, he's kind of looking down on everyone, right? Like he's better, like he knows the truth. But like I said before, truth is subjective, right? Truth is an individual thing, as far as I, believe. And so walking around like, don't you know this? Don't you say that? Um, what's he really doing, right? He's basically creating division. All right. Ever heard of divide and conquer? It's an easy trap, and a lot of people are falling into it, just like that guy. Like he's running around and really just dividing himself from everyone else because they don't believe what he believes.
There's something absolutely fascinating about the way our culture treats solitude. We've been conditioned, from the moment we can understand language, to believe that being alone is somehow a problem that needs to be solved. It's treated almost like a disease, a condition to be cured. And I want to suggest to you today that this is one of the most pernicious lies that society perpetuates, because the fear of being alone keeps people enslaved in ways they don't even begin to recognize. Let me start by asking you a simple question. Why is it that when you see someone eating alone in a restaurant, there's this immediate assumption that something must be wrong? Or when someone chooses to live without a partner, society immediately begins to worry about them, to pity them, to suggest that they must be lonely, must be missing out on something essential. What is this extraordinary prejudice against solitude? The answer, I think, is quite simple and quite disturbing. Society doesn't want you to be comfortable alone, because a person who is genuinely at peace with solitude is a person who cannot be controlled. Let me explain what I mean by this. You see, the entire structure of our civilization is built on making people dependent on external sources for their sense of well-being. The economy needs you to believe that happiness comes from purchasing things. The entertainment industry needs you to believe that fulfillment comes from constant stimulation. The institution of conventional relationships needs you to believe that you are incomplete without another person. And all of these systems fall apart the moment you discover that you are fundamentally complete as you are. A person who is comfortable being alone is a person who doesn't need to buy things to fill an inner void. They don't need constant entertainment to avoid facing themselves. They don't need to desperately cling to relationships out of fear of being by themselves. In other words, they are useless to a consumer society. They cannot be manipulated through their loneliness, their boredom, their sense of inadequacy. And this is why, from the earliest age, we are taught to fear solitude. Children are constantly encouraged to play with others, to socialize, to be part of groups. And while there's nothing wrong with social interaction in itself, what's interesting is that we never give equal emphasis to teaching children how to be content in their own company. A child who prefers to play alone is often viewed with concern. Parents worry, is something wrong? Why isn't my child more social? As if the capacity for solitude were a defect rather than a skill. Now, I'm not suggesting that human beings should become hermits, or that social connection isn't valuable. That would be absurd. We are, after all, social creatures in many respects. But what I am suggesting is that there's a profound difference between choosing to be with others from a place of wholeness and clinging to others from a place of fear. And our society has systematically destroyed our ability to tell the difference.
Do you spend time alone? Are you happy in your own company? For me, I definitely am. I like to think. I like to, daydream, muse things out. And when I was young, people were always calling me shy, but I wasn't necessarily shy. I was just thinking a lot. I was looking at the world and taking it in and wondering what the hell's going on. Normally, I used to study Confucianism, right, from my childhood. But it's true that when we're born, everything is externalized. I mean, and this is what we've been talking about a lot lately, right? The online world. Things outside of you are there to make your life better. That's what we're taught. And if you're alone with your own thoughts, if you're contemplating, well, that's bad. But obviously, the greatest thinkers that have lived on this planet, that have lived on this world, have spent a lot of time in solitude. There's nothing wrong with solitude. And again, there's nothing wrong with, being a social creature and interacting. I think that's all part of it. I think it's all part of it, right? The within, without, the torus. What is inside us goes outside us when we speak, when we do things, and then we get reactions, and we take that back in. And that's where we're supposed to think and contemplate to make better decisions going forward. But yeah, I mean, basically, we all know it, right? As soon as we're born, they try and make us believe that the world is physical and it's outside of us. Both of those are wrong.
Jews built the left in this country. We built the labor movement. We broke the New Deal. 70% of the lawyers who worked on civil rights cases were Jews. We've been at the forefront of every liberal and leftist issue in this country. According to John Fetterman himself, his Zionism puts him out of step with the rest of his party, which, I'm sorry, only 13% stand with Israelis against the Palestinians. Zionism does not have a future in the American left. The Democratic Party's relationship with Zionism depends on whether it's willing to repudiate.
So if you say it, you're a conspiracy theorist, you're an anti-Semitic, and you should be censored. But she's allowed to say it as a Jew, saying, hey, look, we literally built feminism, homosexuality, civil rights, integration with blacks, pornography. We did all that. You should love Jews because we literally gave you modern progressive liberalism, fractional reserve banking. We've made your homes unaffordable. We've given you a society you're not proud of.
Yes, we're going to surveil everybody. Everyone will be on their best behavior. Yes, you're a freak. You're a total creep.
Okay.
All right,
So
total creep.
Total freak, man. Um, I mean, they tell us. They tell us. I think we all know at this point. Um, I'm not sure if we're still allowed to say the word. The blues, let's call them the blues, the small hats, those people, right? They do, and they did. They started everything, right? The banking, the feminism movement, all this woke agenda, and like that lady was saying, they run both sides, right? Two wings of one bird. So if you're hoping that changing the president or um, prime minister or leader that you have, if you think that that's the solution to change things, sorry to tell you that you're being duped because leaders are selected, not elected for one thing, but that lady just told you. And you can find this in a lot of places. They control both sides, right? So the way out is in. The way out of this control mess is to ignore them because that's really all they want is our attention. And without that and our compliance, they're nothing.
And the media is still talking about it as if it's incidental, but it's absolutely 100% structural. We are learning about these types of cases, robberies, assault, sexual assault, rapes, murders, every single day. It's hard to keep up with because even we don't hear the majority of them. We have to go on X, we have to search for them because they try to cover it up. But the reality is, like you said, Miklos, the result of mass immigration is cultural decay, impoverishment, and insecurity. I cannot think of one single positive aspect as a result of mass immigration. Zero. None. There is none. We are about to lose our countries. Before the end of this first half of the century, if nothing changes in my home country, we will become a minority. A minority. That is over.
And that's one of the agendas that they have been rolling out, right? The small hats for a long time. And again, it's all about division. It's all about getting people to focus on other humans, men and women, as being the problem and not the actual control structure, right? The banks, the government, all this other stuff. And it's going down, right? It really is. It's destroying this mass immigration, and it is mass immigration. No one is saying that if there's a family that moves to your country, that's a bad thing. It's moving cultures in and changing the culture and making the original inhabitants the minority. That's the problem. Along with all the robbery, SA, graping, all that kind of stuff that a lot of these cultures are bringing in. Again, part of the agenda, they're bringing in the worst of the worst. And look around, countries are falling. Australia's definitely falling. Most of Europe, and the US as well. I mean, of course, the US has got ICE and this big campaign that, oh, we're getting rid of these people. But at the same time, it seems to be going down from the information I've been seeing. Again, don't know if it's true or not, but it all seems to be getting worse for us all, right? Canada is, oh my God, right? But what do you think? What do you think about mass immigration? Good, bad? Should we allow it, or should it just be completely stopped? Because, my argument has always been that we should be helping these, third world impoverished countries to get back on their feet so that everyone in those countries has a good standard of living. And then they won't want to move. And then we keep cultures intact. And that, I think, is the way that we sort this out. But we're going to have to do this outside of the control grid, right?
call it the mud flood, call it Tartaria, call it the Matrix. In reality, this was the start of the little season of Satan, when Satan was released after the 1,000-year reign of Christ. They tried to do their best to cover it up, to burn the evidence, to bury it. But it's hard to cover up such a massive event that took place worldwide. Even Satan and his demon hordes had a really tough time trying to do it. But trust me, they got a lot of things accomplished in that 250-year cycle that God allowed Satan to rule, to reign again. But please don't shoot the messenger. This is what happened when Satan was released. Imagine what happens when he enters the lake of fire at the great white throne judgment, the start of the 8th day. We're going to go through a big cataclysm, but it's going to be okay. Like, follow, share. Good luck, Godspeed, Sam out.
First, I don't believe we're going to go through a great cataclysm. That's what all of this stuff that's going on online at the moment is. It's an engineered end game, right? It's an engineered Armageddon. Like that, we know that all these, natural, like all these weather events that are going down are engineered, right? By, I won't say humans, right? But by those who wish to control us. It's all created by them. It's not natural. It's not part of any prophecy. And of course, the main issue I have with what he was saying there is that God allowed Satan to rule for 250 years. And so this is Satan's little season. I get asked about this all the time, all the time. What do you think about this? Satan's little season. Um, I think that the concept, is kind of on track, but I don't believe that the God of the Old Testament is the creator God. I don't even like to use the word God anymore, to tell you the truth. It's not the creator. And the New Testament is linked and built off the Old Testament. And so that's I believe the God of the Old Testament is the devil, the demiurge. The word Lord, we saw this in a video a few days ago. The word Lord literally means Baal, right? Baal, Baal, that dude, right? Who the Canaanites and the Phoenicians worshipped, who used to ask for sacrifice and all this kind of stuff, right? That's not good. The Lord, it says in the Bible, I am a jealous God. Okay, if we're the ultimate creation and it's a creator God of just love, then there ain't no jealousy in there. And so, do I believe in Satan's little season? No, I don't believe in that narrative because I don't believe the Christian narrative, right? Like I said, I believe it's all being changed around, and that God is not the creator, he's the enslaver.
I'm going to prove to you that God is actually the devil using the Bible, and if I can't, then unsubscribe and roast me in the comments. We're talking verses where God literally says, I create evil, where God kills every firstborn child in Egypt, commands genocide, demands slavery, accepts a literal burnt virgin sacrifice, and sends lying spirits to trick people. If God is supposed to be good, then why the hell does he act exactly like the devil? And that's just the beginning, because it gets so much worse. Today I'm going to do something that no church wants you to do. Actually read the Bible. And I don't mean the cherry-picked verses they spoon-feed you on Sunday mornings. I mean the raw, uncut, batshit crazy parts they hope that you never open to. And guess what? I'm not the first person to notice this. Some of the very first Christians read these same verses and said, yeah, this God, totally evil. The Gnostic Christians said he was a fake, a god of darkness just pretending to be the light. And Marcion, the guy who actually created the world's very first Christian Bible, said that he was an evil tyrant. And the Cathars, a medieval group of Christians, said he was literally the devil himself. And yeah, these weren't edgy atheists on Reddit, they were Christians. They read the scriptures and said, nope, that Satan and Jesus came from a higher God entirely. And for that, the church burned them alive and erased their books. But here's the thing, we don't even need their banned books to prove it, because it's all right there in the Bible. And today I'm going to show you the verses your pastor never wanted you to see. But guess what? This isn't just about dusty old scriptures. It's about you right now. Because if you've been lied to about who God is, have you been lied to about who you are? My name is Morg. I'm an ex-Christian, blowing the lid off hidden knowledge to wake the world the hell up. And today we're answering the question, what if the being at the center of the world's biggest religion is actually the world's biggest villain? And I'm gonna prove it to you, verse by verse, from the Bible itself. So keep track, and if you're sharp, and I know you are, you're gonna see the patterns before I even call them out. Ready? Here we go. Let's open with something that should absolutely nuke every Sunday school lesson you've ever heard. Isaiah 45:7 says, I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. All right, what the God creates evil? That's not Satan talking. That's not a mistranslation from an old manuscript. That's the Bible in black and white. And in case you thought that was just some crazy one-off, Lamentations 3:38 doubles down. Out of the mouth of the Most High proceedeth not evil and good. So the Bible itself admits it. The God people worship is the one creating the disasters, the pain, the chaos. He isn't just allowing evil. He's bragging that he makes it. So tell me, does that sound like God, or does that sound like the villain of the story. Well, that's exactly what the guy who literally created the world's first Bible thought when he saw that verse. Yeah, I'm talking about Marcion. See, the early church writer Tertullian writes, when Marcion found the creator declaring, "I am he that creates evil," he presumed that there ought to be another God of good. So Marcion took one look at this verse and said, yeah, that's exhibit A for why I'm cutting the entire Old Testament out of my Bible. There's clearly a higher God than this pretender. And the scary part is, this is just the beginning, because the verses we're about to hit, they make these look like child's play. All right, get ready, because this one's a train wreck. And the Lord regretted that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him to his heart. I'm sorry, God regrets? Isn't this supposed to be, I don't know, an all-knowing, all-perfect God? But now God is sitting up in heaven going, well, shit, maybe creating humanity was a mistake. My bad.
Ugh, creating humanity was such a mistake. Ugh.
But you're all-knowing?
I know you're an idiot, Gary.
But it doesn't stop there. Samuel 15:11 says, I regret that I have made Saul king because he has turned away from me and has not carried out my instructions. All right, hold the goddamn phone. God is clearly admitting that he f***s up on the regular, and that's pretty damning evidence that this might not be the all-knowing, all-perfect God of everything, don't you think? But if you thought that was bad, now this one is just embarrassing. In the Garden of Eden, after eating from the forbidden fruit, God literally can't find Adam. But the Lord God called to Adam and said to him, where are you? You're telling me this all-knowing God can't even win a game of fucking hide and seek? Imagine the almighty creator of the universe wandering around the garden like, hey, Adam, where'd you go, buddy?
Adam? Ugh, I should have installed Find My iPhone on this guy.
You are supposed to be all-knowing, bro.
What is this, divine Marco Polo? If you're omniscient, you don't need to ask questions. If you're the alpha and the omega, you don't lose track of your own dude behind a bush. And if you're already thinking, you know, this doesn't sound like God, you're already way ahead of most. See, the Gnostics saw these scriptures where God literally admits he makes mistakes and loses people like your grandma loses her car keys. And they said, are you kidding me? There's no way this guy can be God. In fact, one of their books, called The Testimony of Truth, calls him out on this exact point. It says, God said, Adam, where are you? God does not have foreknowledge? Would he have not known from the beginning? What kind of God is this? And are you kidding me? There's no way this guy can be God. In fact, one of their books, called The Testimony of Truth, calls him out on this exact point. It says, God said, Adam, where are you? God does not have foreknowledge? Would he have not known from the beginning? What kind of God is this? In other words, they're saying this God can't even keep track of one guy? Who is this loser? And yet people still bow down and call him perfect. Newsflash, if your God can't keep track of a naked guy in a garden, maybe he's not the Almighty. But here's what's even crazier. They didn't stop there. They said that there was a higher God, one that wasn't jealous or violent.
Yes, more going off. So that wasn't even the bad stuff, but that was just, saying that it is in the Bible and the bad stuff is too. So go and read your Bible, especially if you're a Christian. But he's clearly not all-knowing. He's not omnipotent. He's not loving, right? He's a jealous God, right? Again, it's in the Bible. And this is the biggest problem for me with the Bible is I don't encourage people to read it and come to their own conclusions. They want you to go to church and they get the man in the dress to come and tell you how to interpret the Bible and which verses you should read. And the whole fact that they have taken out so many books out of the Bible and edited it through all the councils of Nicaea, it just shows you it's not the full story. And why do they take these books out? Because there's stuff in there they don't want you to read. And then they teach all the Christians, that they're non-canonical, right? That they're actually nothing to do with the Bible, even though Enoch was the grandfather of Noah. Right? I mean, it's crazy stuff, but let me know what you think. Please, are you a Christian? How do you get around these anomalies, shall we say, in ethics? What do you believe, if you do believe that, and how and why? Because let me know, because it makes no sense to me at all.
So they actually replaced the bells with cell phone towers. They say cell phone towers are safe, but there is hundreds of US Navy documents from the 1970s saying that these are not safe. And when the bells would ring, they would not only deter storm, which is actually very interesting because that's what they would do in the 1800s if they had a storm. they would ring a bell, and the frequency of that bell would deter the storm away. And while they could also heal people, when the bells would ring, the frequency emitted from the bell would resonate so all the town could hear and feel it, and it would then harmonize and heal everything in its surroundings. Because of how high the frequency was, it was healing people. And then during and after World War II, they destroyed most of the bells. And I actually noticed on some pictures that there was an old language on a lot of the big bells, the ones that they completely destroyed. Multiple languages on some of these bells that were never seen before, which were removed. And so if you think when they were removed, they completely removed those cultures as well in the history. And if you think of Tartaria and all these buildings, they were very connected with bells. So the deeper you get into the history of bells, the more interesting and remarkable it gets.
The bells, the bells. I've never heard that they were used for making storms dissipate or stay away. That's interesting. It definitely says in old, myths, old stories that they were used to keep trolls away. So maybe we need some more bells on the internet. So make sure you subscribed and hit the bell, right? But yeah, it's interesting. Like it was a frequency world. That's what, everything that we see seems to be pointing to, right? That they will run on frequency. And so whatever these frequencies were to do that the bells were putting out, I'm pretty sure that they were for the people, right? And so this again, this is, people what people say Satan's little, we're in Satan's little season and Tartaria was a millennial reign of Christ. Um, and that takes us out of the picture. It's basically back to the you were born with sin story, right? You're just a human. You're not good enough to create all this stuff. You're just for war. That's all you do, and you destroy the planet. That's absolute BS. We do not create wars. We are unfortunately the people of Earth, the fodder for wars, right? Who get talked into it through all their manipulation. That's not us. And as far as destroying the Earth, who do you know who owns a mining company, who's passing all these laws to strip mine and to fell forests and all this kind of stuff, pollute the ocean? It's not us. It's not men and women. It's corporations, right? And people who are clearly possessed by something that is not good.
In Japan, I had no idea that they had made the sarcophagus covers that were exactly the same shape as the one, and oddly shaped, exactly the same as the ones they made in Egypt.
And in a place, there is supposed to be zero connection between ancient Japan and ancient Egypt. That's not supposed to exist. And if you compare that sarcophagus work, it's like it looks uncannily similar.
Impossible, almost impossible that two people would come up with the same design.
So people were on horses, right? Horsepower, right? You got horsepower. People were on horses, but they were creating 15,000 horsepower engines. Look at these. Look at this just remarkable thing, right? Just the amount of detail. Let me read that one more time about what technology actually is. It is wonderful that electricity, that great giant, which in a single moment could destroy the earth, and its entire population can be controlled and held in the strictest discipline by such a machine. Something to think about. It almost sounds like they did that, and then now they're just telling us again in this book from 1893, okay? So they came over on horse and wagon and the Santa Maria and the Pinta and whatever other nonsense they told us, and they built buildings like this. And then not only that, but when they were also building that building, they decided to put an engine in there, and it says that this engine was 5,000 horsepower. That's crazy, right? Just think of cars and everything, right? Give me a couple hundred horsepower. And it also had another engine that was 14,000 horsepower, and another one of 10,000 horsepower, all in all, 24,000 horsepower coming out of this building. Now look at that. That doesn't look like a power plant. That looks like just a beautiful building. So this is an 1893 old world building.
Definitely doesn't look like a modern power plant, right? But I kind of think that they were power plants as far as ether energy. But those machines, what was it, 40,000 horsepower, something like that? I mean, they would have needed that for the plumbing system, right? Like we've all seen the the canals and the fountains, right? There's obviously a massive, massive pressurized plumbing system under all of these, definitely World's Fairs, but all the old world cities, right? So it's interesting. And let me know, do you believe that? Do you believe that people turning up on horse and cart, 1 horsepower, maybe 2 horsepower, are then building machines, putting out thousands and thousands of horsepower, but never actually thinking of turning that into a mode of transport? I mean, that's just silly, right? But there we go, guys. That's another one done and dusted. Thanks for spending some time with me. Hope you enjoyed that one. Please do give me a like, help get this video out, the algorithm and all that kind of stuff. Of course, subscribe if you haven't already, hit the bell, and share this around if you find the content interesting. And of course, stay awesome, and I'll talk to you all on the next upload. Bye for now.
Can I get a oh yeah?
No, 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 no. Hands in. Ow.
What? Jeez.
That is so